So walk us through, like you just did a breakout session at the January Elite down in San Diego.
That was, by the way, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I was a little bit nervous going in because I'm not used to, when I speak, I need some crutches. I need a PowerPoint. I need a deck.
Yeah.
I need some notes. I had no podium, no nothing. I was just right there in front of 200
With
people.
all these people just saying, tell us, Mark,
stuff.
What do we need to do?
So I had to ad-lib a lot of it.
Yeah.
But I did center it around some pretty core things.
So let's talk about that. Let's give them some of those core things.
So, all right, as at the onset, if you're a real estate agent selling real estate, then the things that you typically market, maybe your website has IDX search, and you sell houses, and you live local, and you love where you live, and you love your clients. Well, you know what? That's great. But that's but everybody.
That's everybody.
It's everybody.
Wouldn't it be great? They said, I don't live here. I hate my clients. And I don't even like real estate. But you should work with me.
But I sell a lot of houses.
There's somebody in the U.S. that'd be like, I like that guy.
I like that.
Right?
It's
He's
honest.
telling the truth.
Because a lot of realtors don't like their clients, and there is truth to that. But like in a world where, listen, if you go and look at brokerages in a marketplace and just hop from one brokerage site to another, they're identical. The only thing that's different is their color.
Yeah.
Many of them have a name, and the name is the name of somebody, usually the founder.
Yeah.
It's Bob's Real Estate or Bill's Real Estate or Susan's Real Estate company. With one is red, one is blue, and one is green. But like everything else is exactly the same. So like, how do you separate out?
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be, on one hand, maybe a little mind-blowing, only because it's just so obvious. As people, we all have arms, we all have legs, we all have eyes and ears and noses, and we all like eat and do the same stuff. So what makes us uniquely different? It's what we believe. It's how we think. It's our perspective on the world.
Yep.
And this is like a core secret to brand building, is if you could pry open a company and actually find out what their belief system is. I call it the worldview.
Yeah.
Like, what is your worldview? And a worldview is basically it's a couple of components. It's the problem that you see in the world and the solution that you come up with to make it a better place for people.
Say it again. The problem you see
It's
in
a
the world.
problem you see in the world,
Yep.
and it's the solution that you come up with that makes it a better world. So I'll give you an example.
Yeah, give us an example.
So think about REI. REI is a department store that sells department store stuff.
Yeah, gear.
But what makes them so special? Why do people love REI? Well, REI has a worldview. Now, it may not be as explicit, and a worldview normally isn't explicit in terms of a complete sentence, but once I tell you what it is, you're going to see evidence of it everywhere. So REI's worldview is that the planet Earth is hurting. We're hurting our planet. And the reason why we're hurting our planet is because we don't spend enough time outdoors in it. So their belief is if we got to spend more time outdoors with gear that makes us enjoy the outdoors more, we will be better human beings and the planet will be better for it. So where do you see that worldview? Well, look at their slogan, opt outside.
Yeah.
Look at their actions. On Black Friday, they close and send all their employees out. Now, yes, it's a marketing gimmick, but it's a marketing gimmick based on their worldview.
Bingo.
So it's authentic.
Bingo.
So, Apple has a worldview. They believe that products should be designed to be flawless, that products shouldn't need long lessons on how to use things. It should be, like a 2-year-old should be able to pick up an iPad, which many of our 2-year-olds have, and can figure out how to use it immediately. Intuitive. They should be super intuitive and elegantly designed. And so that's their worldview. And as a result of that, by using those products, you're telling the world that you not only believe in elegance and beauty, you assign that brand vibe to yourself as well. It's why so many people in real estate gravitated toward Apple products, because they wanted to project what people's perception of Apple was.
Yep.
So we can go through many companies, and most I'll probably know what their worldviews are. The most obvious are like companies like Starbucks. Their worldview is that, they want to create that third place where you come and can just do your thing, not just drink coffee, but really work, listen to music, congregate, have discussion. And they have been over the last 30, 40 years trying to build that third place for ourselves, and they've succeeded. And so on and on and on. It starts with and this is where brand starts. It's if you're going to be a realtor and just say, I'm going to get my license because this is a way to make money, you're going to be like everybody else.
That's your worldview.
Yeah, that's your worldview. You are going to be stuck in with the masses. Mm-hmm. But if you could go through a process where you can conjure up, and it's through a lot of questions, but like, what problem do you think, what is your skill set what is your special superpower that you could bring to a transaction that because of this thing that you do, you can assuage people from the problem they're currently experiencing in real estate? Well, that's a worldview. And then you can take that and begin to build upon that and expand upon that.
And is this where language like being able to say we're the only, like we hear so much about like if you can have that only statement or if you could be the first as an example.
Yes.
And I would argue it's more powerful in my opinion to be we're the only company who does X.
We asked this one question. It's first, best, only.
Yeah.
So what are you the first at? What were you the best at? What were you the only at? And sometimes we get an I don't know.
Yeah.
Because, these things, these interviews that we do, they're not tests.
Yeah.
You're not being graded. In fact, the more you say you don't know, the more you're willing to just put your trust in our hands, the better the work's going to be, because how could you know that?
Yeah.
Well, you might know what you were the first to market to. You might know what you're best at, but some people don't know what they're best at.
No, they're busy doing what they do best, which is selling houses. Or, hiring agents and, doing what they do.
But that might not be what they're best at. What they may be best at is crunching data.
Yeah.
They may just be look, when you look at like power teams, and I know you specialize in that, and so you've probably diagnosed and coached that within a team structure, there's one person that's so good at one thing that's all they should do. They shouldn't be saddled with doing something else. So the fringe benefit of the work that we do is that not only do you get your brand story right, but you get to feel and figure out the structure of how you should structure your company. So you only do what you do best.
So let's assume that the person listening, so they're like, okay, my worldview, the problem that I want to solve and how I solve it always in a unique or elegant or different or faster or cheaper, whatever his way, right? Am I missing anything in that?
No,
right?
no.
And then number two is, what are you the first at? What are you the best at? Or what are you the only company or individual to X? Then once they take the time to really hammer that out, what do they do then?
So
there's got to be a third question, if not 20 more.
Well, there's a lot more. It's sometimes hours and hours and days, depending on the size of the company. But, we do them in little bite-sized pieces. So when you come up with, and part of the conversation around this worldview, like what is the problem in real estate?
Yeah.
Part of the reason, Tom, why we go down that route is because real estate we're like the moon. This industry is like the moon. It's being pelted with innovative craters from outside.
Yeah.
And so why are they so interesting to people? Why is Compass so interesting to people? Why is iBuyer so interesting? Why are they evaluated so high? I mean, brokers ask us all the time. We've been doing this for 50 years, and we, blah blah blah, and we go to Steve Murray and we get a 1-to-1 valuation, and Compass gets a 1 to a million. Why?
Yeah.
It's the worldview.
Yep.
Because what these innovators all look at is there's a company you and I both know really well out of New York, My Planet.
Yeah.
So what did Adrian do? What do these innovators do? They look at a space and go, there's a problem here. And it could be simple. Like iBuyer's problem was there were some houses and some people that just want to get their homes sold overnight.
And fast and don't want to deal with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Zillow was like, people just want to know what their neighbor's house is worth because we're yentas.
Yeah.
We want to peek in and gossip. So I think that if you want to enter into real estate and you're going to be a new fledgling business, you should have a disruptor mentality and come up with a problem that you then are going to focus on solving, because then you create your narrow path.
Yeah.
So we're not only trying to create a worldview, we're trying to create sort of a trajectory for your business.
So I don't know if you've met my buddy Jay Abraham. Jay's been a mentor of mine since like 1991. He's the king of direct response, all things direct response marketing, right? He would say, he didn't do all that great on the internet stuff, but but when it came to running newspaper ads, television ads, print, direct mail, like $22 billion in sales.
Jeez.
And then he stopped counting, and that was like in 1990.
Wow, impressive.
Right? So he and I were chatting a couple nights ago about like 9 different positioning strategies, right? Like we do the more for same, we do the more for less, out marketing your competition. Like he gave us, like, he just rattles off like, 9 of these different things. And we actually teach 7 of them to our clients. Is the intent here to create that when you talk about like, sort of piercing through the noise, creating that positioning statement that cuts through the noise and has people say, I understand you, that's what I want?
Yeah.
Why do you think most people resist that? Like, I have my hallucination.
I think maybe because it's structure.
Yeah.
And a lot of why you get into real estate is because you don't like structure.
Yeah.
But real estate is quite a structured kind of a business.
For sure.
But you as a realtor
say you don't like structure to your closing attorney.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Or to a buyer. I'm not really into structure.
But there is a lot of structure.
Some of the contracts.
And a lot of great agents understand, but they create their own structure.
Yeah.
But I think that it's formulaic and there's a structure to it. And my guess is like it's also a little bit outside of their knowledge base.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't do, like the problem that I see in real estate is like you become a realtor and then you like assign yourself the king of or the queen of all things.
Yeah.
So you're the.
That's what I want to talk about.
But you can't be. You need to be.
Yeah.
You need to be
You're either
great at
unique-
one thing.
You're either unique or you're weak.
Yeah. Wow.
Right.
That's cool.
Like that's. But I mean, that's old. That's Jay Abraham. He's like, if you're unique, you're special, you stand out. It's easy to refer you, but when you try and do everything, right, then you're just another real estate agent.
And you're just an average.
Yeah.
Because we all can't be everything.
Yeah.
Listen,
What do you
Tom.
specialize in?
And
First-time
what's your
buyers,
expertise?
High-end properties. What do you? Yeah.
I mean, in the grand scheme of real estate, and I'm not kissing your ass. I've known you too long to do that. But you are
beat the shit out of me online the first time.
Yeah, and I will continue to.
We need to find. There was an early Facebook. Somebody. I'm totally sabotaging. Do you remember? Like I do. Somebody wrote
no,
something.
it wasn't on Facebook.
What was it on?
It was a comment. It might have been on Inman.
It was definitely on a blog. It was on a blog of some, like the old school text blog, and somebody wrote a very nice article about me. It may have even been a paid sponsored ad. I have no idea at this point. Like I don't even remember because it was nice, but it was kind of vanilla. And you went in there. You're like, all right, Ferry, we've never met before. Here's like 13 questions. What about this? What about that? What about this? And I remember reading that article and reading your questions. And first of all, I had no idea who this guy was, right? I mean, I knew Inman and I knew you were a part of it in some way. And I saw your very snarky, cool photo from the side, like that, your original
my
sort
sideways
of
photo.
Yeah. And then I thought, you know what? He's just asking really good questions. And I remember just sitting there, like my wife who's like steaming, like thinking she wants to kill you. And I just took time to just carefully answer every one of your questions.
I gave you an opportunity.
Yes.
To step behind rhetoric.
Yeah.
And just nonsense language
and
actually say something meaningful, and you rose to that occasion.
Yep.
I wasn't really trying to. I know sometimes those things. Listen, being a New Yorker, it's a source of pride for me. But I realize I can sometimes come across a little bit too aggressive.
Yeah.
Especially when you're
writing.
snarky. A little snarky.
Yeah.
It wasn't really my attention, but like. The more I got exposed to real estate, the more I began realizing that so much of what's wrong with this industry is that there are a lot of people who make a living selling bad advice to this industry, who buys it because they had no exposure to any other anything. So I did know you, but I saw what you said and it didn't feel like it had any weight to it. Yeah. So I challenged you and you totally rose to the occasion. And all these years later, I look at you now and I feel like I'm on the Johnny Carson show, with like the king of what it is you do.
I was about to go, I'm Ed McMahon right now.
No,
drinking my vodka and my coffee.
You don't need Ed McMahon. But you know what? You have a mentor. And I have a mentor.
Multiple.
But you meet a lot of these real estate agents that just don't have those mentors and coaches and don't know how to give up a little bit to another expert.
Yeah.
And so you can't get better if you're not being challenged and held accountable for things. So, back on this thing.
Yeah, I want to go back to these because I love these questions and then we kind of bounce. But I told you we were totally unprepared for this podcast, which is exactly the fun of it.
But this makes it good.
So worldview, the problem, right?
Well,
It's almost like the old unique selling proposition, right? Like,
well, when you start with So when you start with a worldview, it gives you a context by which, okay, if I have this belief system, I'm not going to go around telling the world that this is my belief system.
Yeah.
But if you have something you strongly believe in, if then everything that comes out of you following is based on your belief system, it's going to be more authentic and real and true to you.
Yeah.
So creating that worldview or starting there creates this foundation or baseline by which you market. Okay? Now, there's a difference between marketing and branding.
Talk about that.
What marketing is the vehicle you use to get people to buy something.
Yeah.
Branding is the vehicle you use to get people to believe in your marketing. So without branding, then you're just marketing and like, buy my thing because it's better. Use me because I'm number one. Use me because I love my community. That's just marketing.
Yeah.
Branding, when you apply a layer of branding on it. So you showed me some material outside. And it was better than a lot, but it still felt, and you said, I want you to absorb it and tell me what's wrong with it. There wasn't a lot wrong with it. It was, I've seen it before.
Yeah.
But what would really make that work special is if I saw within it activity, action, activation. Like, what is that agent doing to support what she's saying?
Yeah.
So
how would you demonstrate that?
Well, you know,
like in the we're talking about like in a postcard or an
well, if
email
you really
marketing
love
piece.
your community, well, sure, selling homes within the community. Look, I can sell homes in your community, and I don't have to love it. So if you love your community, you have to go beyond just the selling of the home.
Yeah.
There needs to be other things that you do.
Yeah. Like, how do you demonstrate loving your community?
And that's
so people say she loves her community. She loves living here. It's obvious.
So people say, boy, she must love living there.
Yeah.
And it's not because they read it somewhere.
No.
It's because they see what she does. So I'll give you an example.
That's branding.
That's branding.
Yeah.
So we did a project for a client in Houston. They have a construction company, and they love their community. But we started with the worldview. What's the problem? Well, what we isolated was that if you were looking to buy a home between a certain price point, there was nothing on the market. It was either cheap fixer-uppers or high end.
Yeah.
There was nothing in that little middle range. That was kind of customized to a life flow. So they build
Life
homes.
flow or lifestyle?
No, life flow, lifestyle.
Yeah,
just like they don't build these cookie cutter homes. They really they get inside their client's life and try and then map out and build a full floor plan that is and they do it within a price range. So I flew to Houston and walked through their construction zones. And I began listening to how they talk about their client, how they talk about their community, and I started jotting down ideas. Like, do you ever walk through new construction before it's finished? So you're in, the studs are up?
Yep.
Or maybe there's a little bit of sheetrock. So like I said, wouldn't it be cool if, as people are walking through the home, there were little notes on the sheetrock, just in spray paint or stenciled. Like in the master bedroom, there would just be a little stencil that says, this is where the magic will happen. Or in the kids' rooms, there'll be some cool little like opening line from the Giving Tree, or just something something that gets people to go, wow, these people must really care about their clients.
Yeah.
So that they don't have to say, we really care about our clients. So it's unique for everyone, but where does that all come from? It comes from the worldview. Like that's where ideas are born. Once we know what you believe, what the problem is that you're going to resolve, we then create branded activations and experiences and ideas, aside from all the words and everything, that make people feel that, so you don't have to say it.
You know what's interesting? This is, for my longtime listeners, this is the difference when someone comes up to me and says, Tom, I started doing mega open houses. It now represents 35 or 40% of my business, right? I absolutely own my community because of how I do it. And then someone else who was at the same exact seminar, heard the same exact content, because of a different worldview, walks up and says, I tried that and it was horrible.
And it didn't work for me.
Right? And clearly, worldview, mindset, your psychology around the customer, this community, the way you think about your business, are you a problem solver, or is this just about a transaction? Right? Bringing humanity back to real estate is a lot of what I like to say these days. Like, bring humanity back.
Totally. Well, okay, so on that note, many of us have studied Abraham Maslow in high school,
Yep.
and maybe we've forgotten the pyramid chart that he created. But if we think about what's at the top of the pyramid, which is self-actualization. See, this is all tied to psychological, biological science, human science.
Yeah.
So here's why worldview really matters. It is the endeavor of every human being to reach self-actualization. Mm-hmm. A lot of us don't ever get there. Some of us get there early in life. Some of us get there way later in life. But how do you get to that place where you really fully understand yourself so that you can be comfortable in the world and feel like this life was a good life to lead? You have to go through stages. The important stage that I focus on is stage 3, which is belonging, the sense of belonging, feeling like you belong. It sits above the need for food, the need for shelter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all the first 2 pyramids. But then you get to where, like, I need to belong to something to begin my real true journey through life. So where do we typically find belonging? Well, in the old days, we found belonging in our families. We found a sense of belonging in our communities because they were tight-knit. And we found them at our houses of worship.
Yeah.
We would go to Sunday church or Sabbath synagogue and be with our people and feel this is where I belong, my tribe. But what's happened in our society is we leave our parents. You and I were tweeting this morning, my son's in the Netherlands getting ready to live there for what he's now thinking forever.
Yeah.
So we all move away. I moved 3,000 miles away from my people.
Yeah.
Communities are not what they used to be. I don't know my neighbors. I live in a condo building. I don't even know the person next door to me. And that's like unnatural, but that's just how it is. And even in Sunday church and Saturday synagogue, it's not the same as it used to be.
Yeah.
So where are people finding belonging? They're finding it in brands.
Yeah.
People are finding commonality in their love of Lady Gaga or their love of the Grateful Dead
Or Supreme.
or Supreme or Adidas.
Yeah. Or Super 73.
They Super 73
Yep.
than they do.
Yes.
Like he smiled
Yeah.
at,
It's the Church of Super 73.
well, it's the church of.
Yeah.
So what this branding stuff is all about,
Yeah.
if you emit a belief system, that's what attracts people to people is similar beliefs.
Yeah.
Like we might marry our opposites, but we have commonalities that make us feel like we're one.
Yeah.
Our friends, we all have a commonality, and it's usually based on our belief systems. And so, like, I don't hang out with a bunch of guys that like to mainline heroin.
Yeah.
It's not that's my life.
It's not your thing.
That's not my thing.
Yeah.
So I find belonging in people who like to do what I do.
Yeah.
Well, this is where brands can be very powerful, and this is where agents, if they can figure out what their belief system is and radiate that belief system out into the world, you'll actually attract more people to you because of that than because of your sales volume.
Yeah.
Because we all have sales volumes.
Yeah.
But we don't all have the same exact belief systems.
Yeah.
Now, I may have a similar belief system as you, but because I'm different than you and I work with an agency, I can figure out how to word it and activate it differently. So that's really like once you belong and feel a sense of belonging, then you move up Maslow's ladder to feeling self-esteem.
Yeah.
And you begin to feel good about yourself. Agents who are part of the Tom Ferry world feel good about themselves. I know because I work with people who, I mean, I think of the Spikers, top of my head.
Yeah.
I mean, these are people who are so confident and so secure in their mindset. They don't suffer from the self-esteem issues.
That they can move from Maryland to Maui
And still run a business.
and still run a business at both locations.
And stay happy, and be married. And so but I see those commonalities, and I think being part of like the Tom Ferry world, the belonging to that unleashed that for them.
Yeah.
So hence, this is the science of branding. You have to build out that belief system.